Hi, Lee Phillips here. I want to talk about your IRA and your estate planning. I get the question all the time, should I make my living revocable trust the beneficiary of my IRA? And the answer is probably no. One of the first cases I handled years and years, 30, 40 years ago, was the individual had died and the insurance company, the retirement company, wouldn't pay the money out because the kids had been made the beneficiaries. So who you make as a beneficiary on an IRA is a big deal. Number one, you don't want to ever make your living revocable trust the beneficiary. Having said that, well, maybe if it's a small IRA and you're going to give it to a bunch of people or something, you could make your living trust the IRA and then it'd filter down to each one of the beneficiaries. But an IRA is sacred money. It grows without a tax, and that's huge. We've done the dollar double 20 times in other YouTubes, but having it grow without a tax is huge. The neat thing about an IRA is you can do what's called stretch it. You can make it a legacy IRA and stretch it out over the lifetime of the individual who gets the IRA, who's the beneficiary of the IRA. You're probably going to name your spouse as primary beneficiary and then the kids as secondary beneficiaries. The spouse can drop it to the kids when he or she dies, and then it stretches over their lifetime. But you've got to teach the kids not to spend the money. The first thing the kid does is he takes the money out of the IRA, which is a disaster, because if it's a standard IRA and he takes the money out, what's he got? Income. He has to pay income taxes on it. So it eats a big chunk of what he takes out just to pay the income tax. Then the rest of whatever's left after they pay the income tax, they go to Hawaii. Yeah. Stupid. Most expensive trip you've ever seen. You got to teach the kids to leave the money in the IRA. Then it will grow without the tax over their lifetime. And it's huge. Yes, they have to start paying required minimum distributions as soon as they get the IRA, not when they're 70 and a half. As soon as they get your IRA, they have to start paying required minimum distributions. But if it's child or grandchild, it's based upon their life expectancy. And it's actually very small, and the fact that the money grows without the tax is going to way outrun the fact that they have to do the required minimum distributions. The after-tax money that a kid will spend on a Roth IRA particularly, the money that they'll actually spend out of that IRA is mind-boggling if you've got 50 or 60 or 70 years to keep it in the IRA. So, do not name the trust as the IRA beneficiary because the trust doesn't have a lifetime. And the IRS says if we move the IRA to someone who we can't determine the lifetime on, aka a trust, then by law you have to take it out within 5 years, pay the tax, whatever it is. And by the way, your IRA is considered part of your estate for estate tax purposes. Now, unless you live in a state where there are state estate taxes, there's no federal that you're going to have to worry about probably, because we can pass, what, $11.2 million without a federal estate tax now since Trumpy came to town. In fact, if I use the old AB trust split thing, or I file, I can claim the credit for my deceased spouse, and bottom line is you can do 22.4 million? Whoa! That eliminates the state tax for most people who are worried about IRAs, but it is included in the estate for estate tax purposes. And in the old days, I could show you in some states, aka Washington state, that you could actually iterate it on down and lose 105% of your IRA. Take the money out to pay the estate tax, that's income, pay the income tax, and it just iterates on down to where they lose it all. You're not worried about that probably because of the high estate tax limits today, but it is part of your estate. So you're going to name a living beneficiary, probably kids or grandkids, and the younger the guy, the more time you've got to let it grow, if they're smart enough to leave it in. And that's an education. You got to educate them. But it's a really cool deal. So you don't name your trust as the beneficiary of the IRA. You name a living person and then allow them to stretch that over their lifetime. We call it stretching, or they'll call this a legacy or an inherited IRA. There's a bunch of names for it. This is Lee Phillips. Don't forget, your IRA is a big deal.